welcome back to the David67 Celtic News YouTube channel. Today going to do an update as best I can on the current transfers and loans in and out of Celtic. It's an ever-changing story, and so I'm doing this recording around 3 o'clock on Thursday the 11th of January. Who knows, in an hour or two's time things might well have changed by the time this is uploaded and being viewed by everybody. However, main story regarding Celtic is that Celtic have lodged a bid for Nicolas Kuhn of Rapid Vienna, said to be around about £2 million, which was turned down by Rapid Vienna. News stories from a couple of sources around half an hour ago said that Celtic were lodging a second bid for Kuhn, uncertain what that fee was. However, Rapid Vienna appear to have set a level of just under £3 million for Kuhn. Their sporting director and club officials are saying there are a number of teams who have lodged bids for Kuhn, and that Celtic are by far not the only club looking to buy Kuhn in this transfer window. Just a wee recap of Kuhn. He is a 24-year-old, primarily left-footed right winger, can play left wing, can play through the middle, but primarily plays on the right, although he is very left foot dominant, can use his right foot, but it almost exclusively uses the left foot. He has some interesting stats. At Rapid Vienna, his current club, where he's been for a couple of seasons, 51 games, 7 goals, 10 assists. He has a very impressive under 17, under 19, under 21 record at Hanover, RB Leipzig and Ajax, where in combination with those three teams at youth level scored 45 goals, 20 assists in 112 games for them. However, at Bayern B in Bundesliga 2, he had 37 games, 6 goals, 3 assists, so not terribly impressive. And in League 3, on loan at FC Erzgebirge, he had 27 games, 3 goals, 4 assists. So again, not terribly impressive levels in German League 2 and German League 3. Reasonable but not great outputs in the Bundesliga in Austria. Some other more in-depth stats. 38% crossing accuracy doesn't sound terribly good. Big chances created, 11, which sounds good over the course of this season, but big chances missed, i.e. he's been the one to score the goal, 8 missed big chances this year. He has poor shooting statistics, does create chances for others, 2 chances per game on average, does have impressive dribbling stats, 3.66 successful dribbles and 5.92 touches in the opposition box per 90 minutes as an average over the season so far. So overall, it doesn't sound like he is a player to set the heather on fire. He sounds like a decent player rather than a great player. I've noticed in many of the stories coming out regarding Kuhn, they talk of his impressive pace. However, having watched multiple highlight reels of Kuhn over the last couple of years in Austria, I would say in terms of actual pace, he's behind Liel, who appears to be the fastest player at Celtic, behind Yang and behind Maeda. He's about the same pace as Liel Abada, but faster, admittedly, than Luis Palma, James Forrest, and Mikey Johnston. So his extreme pace and his ability to beat tight defences doesn't really seem to me a very accurate analysis of Nicolas Kuhn. And I think the general consensus of the feedback regarding Kuhn from an earlier video, which had some highlight reels of him, was we weren't convinced that Kuhn was a player for Celtic. It would appear Brendan Rodgers is very keen on Kuhn, with one and now a second bid for him. Now, the only real explanation for why Celtic are going a bundle on Kuhn, given the fact that we already have at the club Abada, Maeda, and Palma, and Johnston, Mikey Johnston, and Forrest, and Yang, and Tilio, is that there are increasing stories coming out of Celtic and out of Israeli football press sites that Liel Abada is getting considerable pressure from Israel and from others to leave Celtic. The fans and crowd did welcome him back very loudly and very supportively when he came back on against Rangers, and also when he played against St Mirren. But it does sound like he's getting a lot of pressure from home and from friends and family, which is understandable given the political situation at home in Israel and Palestine at the moment. I do hope that the rumours regarding Abada being on his way out of Scotland and out of Celtic are untrue, but over the last 24 hours the stories have got more and more detailed, and so I fear there is a degree of truth behind it, and that certainly would explain why Rodgers is looking to expand the number of experienced wide players to 4, with the backup of Yang and Tilio as young players to get better and better, and presumably Mikey Johnston on his way out, and James Forrest edging towards well-deserved retirement. On that topic, Marco Tilio, who is about to start the Asian Cup tomorrow, along with 4 other Celtic players. Tilio was saying that he's found the first few months at Celtic difficult, some frustrations at being stuck initially for the first couple of months injured and unable to play or train, and then has been in full training, he says, for around 3 months, but has had only 2 very brief substitute appearances and appears to have, in some way or other, massively upset Brendan Rodgers, who seems to be ignoring him completely in terms of players to get a chance at Celtic. I, for one, was very impressed with the 2 years of his career in Australia. We have to remember he is was part of the Australian World Cup squad in November, December 2022, and Australia who qualified out the group stage into the knockout stage, and so a pretty decent international team. Tilio was part of that team, currently part of the Australian Olympic team to go to Paris in the summer, and currently part of the Australian national side at the Asian Cup. And so Tilio clearly, at least in the eyes of the Australian management and the Australian League, is a very impressive player, and certainly his highlight reels over a couple of years in earlier videos also show a player with a lot of pace, a brilliant ability to drive into the box, a brilliant ability to dribble, very good at putting away chances, very good at creating chances for others, and considerably quicker over a short distance and long distance than Kuhn, and right up there with Dies and Maeda in terms of raw pace. However, Rodgers very much wants him out of the club, It looks like probably a loan back to Australia, and then Tilio coming back to Scotland at the end of that to have a second chance at Celtic. I do really hope that Tilio has a brilliant Asian Cup, shows Rodgers that he is actually a player of immense talent, shows Rodgers that he can play right wing, left wing, and through the middle. It does seem a bit odd on a day where we look like we're going to be bringing in Nicolas Kuhn for his ability to play right and left and through the middle. At the same time, we're getting rid of Tilio, if Rodgers wishes her to be accepted, a player who plays right and left and through the middle with a lot of pace. And at the same time, Bologna seem very close to completing a deal to sign Rocco Vata, our very talented B team under 18 player. Vata's contract is up in a few months' time, and so Celtic will only get a compensation deal somewhere between £300,000 and £400,000 to compensate for the fact that Vata has been at the club almost literally since he was born, given the fact his dad is an ex-Celtic player, but certainly has been in the academy system and youth system at Celtic since about the age of 10. So it does seem a bit odd. We're getting rid of Vata, a player who plays right and left and through the middle. We're looking to get rid of Tilio, a player who plays right and left and through the middle, and we're spending £3 million plus on Nicolas Kuhn, a player who's been at an awful lot of different clubs. His record at none of those clubs has been that impressive. And so it does slightly bemuse me and confound me. A few other little stories around Celtic. Nothing definite. Gustav Lagerbielke does appear to be in position to be loaned either to Lecce in the Italian Serie A or Genoa in Italian Serie A, both teams mid-table in that league. Lecce seem to be having financial difficulties to complete Lagerbielke's wage levels for the loan spell. Also mentioned now that Lecce are looking for a potential transfer fee at the end of the loan deal, which is a new development. Genoa don't seem to have the same difficulties in funding the loan deal. It was said for Genoa just to be a loan deal with no purchase at the end. Waiting still for full developments with Lagerbielke. Brøndby have said that Matthias Kvistgaarden is not for sale at all in the January window, and that things can get revisited in the summer. Brøndby are in a 3B battle for the Danish Super League, and Brøndby very keen to get the cash injection of Champions League football next year, and so they're keeping all their best players at the club for the second half of the season there. Good news for me also is that the £4 million price tag for Thiago Araujo at Estoril seems to have cooled Celtic interest, and we now no longer seem to be looking at Thiago Araujo in this window, which is good news for me because I don't think he is near enough a good defender to suit Celtic's needs. Good attacking fullback, but not a good defensive fullback, and we need a fullback who can do both. We need a fullback who can be a better defender than Greg Taylor, and all of Araujo's stats show he is much poorer than Taylor, and also doesn't usually play in a back four, only plays in a back five as a wing back, and quite often also plays left side midfield rather than any kind of fullback role. One other piece of news linked to the Rocco Vata to Bologna deal is that Bologna had been discussing potentially some form of swap deal with Vata going to Bologna and Sidney van Hooijdonk going to Celtic. Celtic have been scouting Van Hooijdonk. There were stories that we were tabling a bid in the summer window, At that point, Bologna said they were going to give Van Hooijdonk more of a chance in the first team, and so he stayed at Bologna in the summer window. It hasn't really transpired that Van Hooijdonk's had much of a chance playing in the first team at Bologna. He seems to have dropped down to third or fourth in the pecking order of strikers at Bologna. And so there was talk that Vata and Van Hooijdonk would be swapped, with the money that would have been part of Vata's compensation to Celtic being taken off of a transfer fee for Van Hooijdonk. It does appear, however, that Bologna have had a couple of injuries amongst their strikers, and so it may well be, if those injuries prove significant, that the Van Hooijdonk part of that deal is cancelled, at least until the summer. With all these transfer stories and loan stories, and the stories regarding Liel Abada, at this time of year it tends to be very fast flowing and fast changing, and so we'll update again tomorrow with any changes, and do apologise if in the next few hours things crystallise and become more definite for any of the things I've chatted about today. Also, I will endeavour to try and keep everybody up to date a wee bit with how Rio Hatate, Daisen Maida, O, Yang and Tilio are doing in the Asian Cup, both in terms of playing, goals, assists and any injuries that they pick up. So for today, thanks for listening, thanks for watching. For any of those who haven't subscribed already, do consider clicking that subscribe button. Remember, there's also a comment section for any thoughts, debates regarding this video or Celtic in general. And so till tomorrow, goodbye and hail, hail.